This is a wastewater treatment system that's very friendly to the environment and then has a profitable back end. So instead of a just end user cost to clean their water, we actually are producing a pollutant-free seafood because we control what goes into it with the food waste, and we can sell the fish coming out of it. So this system will be right around 20 to 30,000 pounds of fish per year, based on that 700 gallons a day. Now, that's very small, but this is just a pilot program here, what we have developed.
The scalability of it.
Yeah, so our end results, we want to build a 1 million pound system here in Westfield. 1 million pounds of seafood per year. And there's enough waste around to do that.
There are 2 tanks. They handle everything that comes out of the distillery and the brewery.
Okay.
So wash water goes into this tank.
Okay.
Stillage goes into this tank. The stillage is if you're making bourbon,
Okay.
you're going to ferment 600 gallons of corn mash. You're going to boil off, distill 50 gallons. We get everything else. The 550 gallons that comes down after that. And basically it's like oatmeal when it comes in. Now what they've been doing now is because it's fall,
Okay.
they're distilling wine so that everybody can have empty tanks for the new harvest. So it kind of gets mixed up. We get both stillage and wash water in each of the tanks.
Just,
Yeah.
Yeah. The
So-
bouillabaisse of.
So you can
Wow.
see what it looks like.
That's why I got my camera.
Yeah. And what we're going to do is pump over some wash water into that tank. So I'm going to turn that pump on, and that's going to make, there it goes.
Wow.
So that's the wash water going in and mixing with the stillage. And this is pretty weak stuff compared to what we normally get.
It is.
Yeah. So now if you go with Ron over to the system
Okay.
and look, and he'll show you where it's going to come on, and then I will turn on this other pump, which is going to pump this tank over into our system. Yep, you just follow the pipe as to how it goes over.
That stillage is going to come out and it's going to come through this pipe. And it'll actually, we call it feeding the system because you got to keep the biology alive. So this is the food source, along with the wood chips. So that's what feeds the system. We're feeding a microbial biomass that's actually eating all of the organics. So we inoculated these with just a little mud out of the creek, little algae, just the microbial atmosphere that's around here is what we inoculated our system with. So when we fired up in 16 with our first wood chips, you know, Jerry just went in the creek and picked up a few things and just threw a little mud in each one, so to speak.
So
Literally from this creek right out here.
that's incredible. So when you think
And that microbial biomass now builds,
develop.
and then everything grows. So. Oh yeah, that's why this can be built anywhere in the world.
Because you're not shipping in
No,
products that
we're not going to bring the microbes from the Concord region of northeastern United States and take it down to South America, wherever. So we're going to feed this train. This is all modular by setup.
Okay.
You know, chip zone, water zone, chip zone, water zone. Everything recirculates and flows back around. It's just part of the system, and it's also an aerobic system. This is a 40,000 gallon system here that handles close to 800 gallons per day of waste.
Wow.
So
Is that kind of what is that your baseline for this?
no, our baseline. We designed this pilot. Here comes the waste. So, and this actually is a little. This is clean. This is cleaner. This doesn't have a lot of BODs in it.
The microbes develop very rapidly. So within a week or two, you've got a lot of action going on. Yeah. Now it continually evolves over a long period of time. It's going to evolve forever. So this is really clean stuff coming in. This is about as good as it ever gets. Yeah. And we pumped a bunch of stuff in yesterday, which is why we've got all this foam. But it handles it, it knocks it down quickly. Yeah, this is a chip tank. These are water tanks here. So normally we recycle water all the way around, and you'll see it over there on the demo as to why that is. There's aeration in all of them. There's aeration underneath the chips. You'll be able to see chip structure a little better. I'll go turn it off. But just hardwood chips, but we can run any kind of wood chips. It'll run on grass, switchgrass, corn. We can run it on cardboard, but there's have to be toxic things in cardboard, so we don't do that. Any kind of clean organic plant material. No, when we designed the system, when we were talking with the Mazdas and stuff like that, they had a 50-gallon still, and they weren't making beer. We knew they were going to expand. They told us that. Now they have a 600-gallon still and a 50-gallon still, and they're doing beer 2 to 3 times a week sometimes. So it's over 20 times the waste load that we initially thought.
Right.
So we designed this to run a basic treatment train on this side and a fish raising train over there. We're using both trains for waste treatment because of the increased load, but we're handling it.
Right.
And as you'll see soon, we've increased our worm farms immensely to also accommodate.
Now, just briefly talking about the cones, and we'll set up new cones. I set these up yesterday. So this cone was taken out of here.
Okay.
And it's got quite a lot of material settled to the bottom.
See the sediment at the bottom?
Yeah, that's the sediment in the bottom from there on down. We pump this, or we let it siphon into a worm farm. The worm farm effluent then is pumped back into the second cell. This is the worm farm effluent. So the worm farm has taken out most of the solids. A huge amount of the solids. Yeah. So this goes into the head end of the second train over here.
Okay.
And when it gets down to here, this is what that cone looks like. Now, why is there more solids
I
here?
was just going to ask. Yeah.
Because the microbes in this train are eating additional soluble nutrients that weren't captured here.
I see.
So we get
So
a
you're
little
gonna
bit
have
more.
A little bit more. Right.
Yeah, and then we'll take those out later. And we'll set up new cones so that you can see that process. We have a pump in here, but right now it's siphoning at a slow rate, taking this first stage microbial mixture, this is the real workhorse right here.
So your engines, your pistons.
That's
right?
the first one, yes. Oh, look at that. See? Pump out. We'll tell you about that in just a little bit. That came out of this radial flow clarifier. It took this material, it separated this material from this water,
Okay, so we're taking
and it
our
pumped
third-
this material back into here.
So this would be the third process, essentially?
Yeah, that's the fourth process.
Cool. And it's taking that and now pumping it
Yeah,
back.
so the solids go in here. This water then goes on for further treatment. So the first stage train is now siphoning into worm farms. These worm farms, those trains are 70 feet long, 8 feet wide, 8 feet deep.
Okay.
The worm farms here are 40 feet long, 10 feet wide, and about 18 inches deep.
Wow.
And the water siphons down to the far end.
Okay.
It then siphons into the head of the worm farm. It gradually acts kind of like a constructed wetland or a river delta.
So you've replicated the ecology, biology
Yes.
of that, and now
We're using it as,
about this.
and so then the water comes down here and most of the microbiology has been filtered out.
Okay.
There are pipes buried underneath these 3 worm farms right at the end. And that water then is collected and it goes back to a sump where it's pumped back into the train. We've been doing constructed wetlands, what we called solids ecoreactors, for quite a while.
You have.
Yeah.
So was this the foundation of the idea?
Well,
Where
that
your
is
brain
evolved.
started you're like, wait a second, we got something here.
That evolved over the last 50 years in various spots. So this is what it was. It was running this morning and I shut it off, but it's siphoned in here and you can see where the microbial biomass is now basically settled out and the water has gone back and has been pumped up to the far end. one of the big problems in the United Nations, every governmental panel on climate change, the one on land and climate change, was that we are destroying the microbial nature of soils 10 times faster than we're replacing it. This builds soil. Well, this is the economic engine. We take the waste material and we make 4 products out of it. We degrade wood chips, and you degrade half of the wood chips,
Right.
and the energy content goes from about 8,000 BTUs per pound dry weight up to 11,000 BTUs per pound dry weight. Now you have a high energy wood chip residual that you can use to make a biofuel, or you can make a high energy pellet for wood stoves, that sort of thing. So that's a saleable product.
Okay.
You screen this worm farm material, you get potting soil or topsoil. So that's a saleable product, a valuable product. You get very clean water, which you can reuse or discharge with no harm to the environment whatsoever, and you get seafood, which you can really sell. Now this siphon is running right now, and you can see the little river delta.
Yep.
You can see where the microbial solids have been deposited on the side.
Yeah, you do. It literally, you know what it looks like? It looks like a drone shot of a delta.
There you go.
Oh, that's crazy. And this is just a natural process no matter how it occurs.
Yes.
Right? It's just scaling.
And it's all a function now of loading,
Okay.
how much loading you put in per unit time, and the nature of how you construct the... This has got both wood chips and spent brewer's grains in it.
Now, is there a natural benefit to utilizing those raw materials over what you might have if you were...
You basically can use any kind of plant material and any kind of food waste product that is clean and has nitrogen and phosphorus in it.
And that's all you're looking for.
That's what we're
That's
looking
all
for.
you need.
And we exclude the toxic
Right.
components.
But the rudimentary nature of these materials
Yeah.
is so huge for this process and for
Yeah.
you to be able to get this to market and to scale.
Yeah.
Because we're not, like, you know, Ronnie and I were talking about this, you're not pulling in raw materials to feed this. This is a closed
No.
recycling system.
Over here you have a soybean field.
Mm-hmm.
Not much grows in a soybean field besides soybeans.
Right.
It doesn't sequester much carbon. You know, birds and wildlife doesn't live there. That's not a natural habitat.
Sure.
We replace the soybean field with a woodlot, you know, woods,
Right.
like that, where you have a wide diversity of different kinds of plant material. You selectively harvest trees without destroying the aesthetics, the biodiversity, and the stability. That kind of land can sequester 150 tons of carbon per acre. Big problem everybody has with that is we need that land to grow food.
Right.
So we
right.
can't
So-
do forest, but we can grow food and forest at the same time on the same land. So you can have it both ways.
Wow.
These are developmental systems here. What we're going to do is build them with a concrete basin
Okay.
so that you can come in with a loader and pick up a bunch of this, run it through a screen. You select out the wood chips, which have high energy value, and then you run it through another screen. You separate out the worms from the potting soil. It's all local. It's all sustainably constructed.
Is there anything like this anywhere?
Not to our knowledge. There are a lot of people that have pieces. People are raising insects. People are growing worms. People are growing single-cell protein on wood chips. Nobody's put the whole thing together. Now, all of the worm farm stuff is collected
I was just going to ask what this was.
in a sump.
What is it? Oh, wow.
Now, it comes in through that pipe, and I've turned the pump off so that you can see
Okay.
what it's going to do. There's a pump with a float switch down here. That pump is going to pump through this hose back to the head of the second train. And so we'll start this and we'll get it running, and then we'll go up and see where it comes out.
Right. Okay.
And we'll take a sample of that as well. So now the pump is running, and then I'll show you where it goes through this hose back up to the head of the next train. So it comes out here into the head of the second train. This is the worm farm effluent. And we'll set up another cone. This was the middle cone. And we'll set up a new one when we go back down. So now this water goes back through the second train, which is constructed exactly like the first train. Only it is now taking more soluble organic material and converting it into a microbial biomass that we'll take out with that clarifier. This is the water then that came out of the worm farm.
Okay.
So we'll set up a new cone.
You know what? Everybody gets this, you know?
So now you can see
Wow.
before worm
between.
farm, after worm farm.
Huge difference. Oh, you can see it even more so, I think, because it's, you know, it's the opaque quality of the water here.
Yeah. Now we'll take the water that's passed through this train.
Okay. This is a great example.
Now this is actually going to have slightly more solids in it than this, because the microbes in the second train are eating the residual organic material that the first train in the worm farm did not take out.
We developed a lot of solids buildup, so we built this radial flow. Water pumps in, we bring it right in out of the west train, comes up and through, pumps up through a stilling well here. You can see the water bubbling up on the top there. Fills up this inner cone, and you can see the cone shape here. Much like the Amoff cones over there are settling the solids. So we have this set up on a timer. It's what you witnessed before. That timer went off. We have it set up every hour. So it'll pump down for 10 seconds, pull the solids, put it back into the east train so they can still be reworked. This needs to be about 4 feet in diameter.
Wow.
It needs to be that big and that size to handle this current system.
Gotcha. So,
But we wanted to make sure it worked,
right.
because everything's an experiment, everything's a prototype here.
Sure.
So, and it works. Now the water that comes off of here that settles out,
Okay.
that water then in turn heads over to one of our other tanks.
No.
It pumps out of the west train, comes in
Pumps
through
in
here.
and then
Yep.
over there.
Solids settle out. The overflow pumps over into that tank, and we'll walk over there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
And then it'll be running through that process there. And then the solids pump back out,
And go back in.
go into the east train,
So
the roughing system. The overflow from the current radial flow comes out this pipe here
okay.
into this tank.
Oh, wow. You can see the difference right away.
Yeah.
Now these are fairly subtle differences from here on out. That looks reasonably close to what was coming,
Yeah.
although it doesn't have that gooky stuff in it. So this unit right here is the way our fish tanks are constructed. It's a tank with 2 pumps. You get an influence stream coming in. One pump creates a circular flow, and part of that flow goes up above and comes down through a chip zone. And the second pump is in the center, which pumps the solids out through additional worm farms.
North flood back into the west train. Hence the other solids, why the west train still has solids in it.
Right.
We had to do that because the system kept growing up top. The waste stream kept increasing.
This looks about like what's coming out of here. It's pretty close. It's a little bit better.
Then it heads on over to this side. So as long as we keep running this process,
Ronnie, that's huge. Yeah. That's a big deal. I mean, now we're talking ginger ale colored versus birch beer.
yeah, and
Really.
that's just tannins in the wood. And this is what we put into the fish.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, you can tell when you pour it.
Oh, wait till you see over here.
Oh, you have that first.
Yeah. This is how we connect the tanks. So when you want to run it through, you
Oh,
just
you can.
put this
So you're
in,
good.
and it runs through. You don't have to pump it or anything. So you can adjust water quality here, pH, phosphorus levels, nitrogen levels, and then you can go into a feed tank. We don't have fish in this tank. It's the feed tank for our fish tanks. Watch your footing on this. The green stuff is a little slippery.
Yeah, there's I think 50 largemouth bass in here. They're over there. You see them? Got 'em? Okay.
These are catfish in here. This is watercress, which you could sell if you want to do. Basically, this is just kind of for show because the amount of sunlight you can get in a given unit of land is way less than the amount of energy we can get from the wood chips that we harvest from the forest. But this could be an aquaponics system, and you can sell this as a salad, and we could grow tomatoes or anything. So here's the fish water.
Wow. You know what's amazing is that I'm seeing this happen in front of my eyes.
You dip it right out of there. So it's
wow. The water, the fresh water issue that we're facing right now. It's right here.
Yeah, you can recycle it. Now, you've got limits as to how many times you can recycle it, which is due to the salinity and the conductivity of the water.
Okay.
We monitor all of that information.
But it can be done.
It can be done. And like this water could be a feed stream for the brewery and distillery. Now, they'd want to do some additional treatment probably, but as a processed water or wash water, you could use it right now. There are
how much do you want to produce?
All kinds of different manifestations of this technology. It's very flexible. We can use it to clean up polluted lakes. Let me go get a few little pellets and we can feed some of the fish and you can see them.
Okay.
We do that as a supplement.
Okay.
Normally they would eat invertebrates that are produced within the system.
This was a hatchery train we set up, became a snail train. We ran shrimp last year, freshwater shrimp. Between this system and the two different buckets you see over there, the two trays.
Okay, they should come up and start to feed. Well, we raise trout in here, but trout, you get them over 70 degrees and they start to die off. They don't do well. And the freshwater shrimp, the giant river prawns, they need 78 to 80. Right. So you need warmer. This is the demo system that we built, that Ron built. It does everything that this is, but it's small. So
yeah, this was built on a flatbed trailer, so everything was...
This is amazing.
This is where we set up the demo, and then it's also helping us set up our automation.
Wow.
Computer-driven controls.
And so now this is just for this, but you have another system like this for your large...
Yeah, this is actually all of that.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Condensed into a 1,500 gallon as opposed to 40,000 gallons. Well, this will actually handle 40 pounds of solid waste a day.
Yeah, we figured we'd put 20 gallons of food waste.
Okay. 20 gallons, well, it's 62 pounds, so it's going to be a little more than that. Yeah. So more like 180, 200 pounds worth of solid food waste. This can handle a day. So yeah, this is a fully functioning system.
So you've got, this is your first bioreactor, this is these first 5 cells.
Okay.
And this is a recycle pump that pumps out of this end, takes it down to that end.
Okay.
This is a pump that does exactly the same thing, but we split the flow and this flow goes into a worm farm.
Gotcha.
The worm farm goes down there and drops into the second bioreactor. I saved a couple of the worms that we've been growing. It's a banded worm.
Okay.
It's not native to the area, but it's the dominant worm that we find in the soil here.
It is.
And you can see the banded nature.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah.
And there might be an earthworm in there with that.
There is. That's the banded worm?
Yeah, that's the banded worm.
And then, is that the earthworm? This one?
Yeah, it might be that one.
Wow.
So it was just what was living right outside here. Now, we just put a few in and they replicate.
So within a couple months, you've got yourself...
Yeah, now this does not have much of a worm population because it's been trucked around.
Right.
And we haven't been feeding it. But these are the kinds of worms. I actually dug these out of the worm farm out there.
You did.
But I put a few of them in here, so we just put them right back in. You know, we did it 10 to 15 years ago, and nobody paid any attention. For 50 years since I built the first prototype. I can show you a picture of me with 55-gallon drums and pails. I was at the Center for Theoretical Biology.
To hear because people don't want to listen.
Well, that's reality, though.
It is.
And so you have to do that. And the big thing about our eco-technology is that if you've got a great idea technically or scientifically, if you don't pay attention to the politics and the economics, it's not going anywhere. So you've got to do the whole thing because we are a part of this system and we have to figure into that analysis. Well, the other aspect is it's a heck of a lot of fun. If you come over and look at this side of it, this is the air system. That's our blower that mimics over here.
Okay.
It's the same, it provides the aeration for the chip zones and the water zones.
Wow.
And then you come down here. You can see the piping and the pumps.
Yep.
You want to turn on the bellows pump? Now, the bellows pump will take the solids. That's the one that we saw over there on the timer.
Yep.
Takes the solids out of here.
Okay.
Pumps them back into that bioreactor over there. See? It's coming out of that.
Yep. Yep.
And this is a bellows metering pump. We can do salt water, fresh water, warm water, cold water. We can raise mussels, lobsters, snails.
But again, this is modular. If someone wants to use this in a commercial kitchen or a college kitchen and they're now putting in, 1,000 pounds a day or something, then we just make it bigger.
Right. Because that's just another cost.
Because this all adapts too. I mean, we put this in there, it's demo. I mean, well, we can put, 6 fish tanks down the back, or we can dig a large pond and, we start growing lots of fish. So we want to develop our own logic controls here in our human interface to run this system so that we can help and partner with whoever's going to be operating.